Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is Yona. I am a first year resident at MedStar Washington Hospital Center, and it's been a minute. Residency has been tough. I could probably make a whole video about it so far, and I would love to share my experiences with all of you. But in today's video, I am making a highly anticipated video, basically about boards part 2 and what study resources I used in order for me to prepare well for it and for me to pass. Um, so it's been a minute in making videos. I'm a little rusty, but I'm glad I have time to make this video and share with you guys. So I'm just gonna go straight into it. And if you guys don't know, boards part 2, I personally felt it was a little bit easier compared to part 1, but it's still challenging in its own way. The subjects for this exam are definitely different from the first one. If you guys don't know the subjects, I'll just list them out quickly here. I wrote them out. It's medicine, radiology, orthopedics, biomechanics, and sports medicine, anesthesia, surgery, and community health, jurisprudence, and research. So it's completely different from the first one because all these subjects are different. Maybe medicine being having a little bit of say in the first one, but it's also different type. It's a different type of just the questions are different for this exam. It's yes, you have to memorize a lot of things, but it's more applicable. I feel like compared to just memorizing a lot of random things. Let's say for biochemistry. So for this exam, I'm going to just tell you some of the resources I used. And a lot of these resources that I'm going to mention in this video are kind of universal to what a lot of residents you've probably talked to by now who would recommend. And just jumping straight into it, the first one being Watkins. I think Watkins is a definitely must-have resource. If you're not using it now, especially during externships, you should be using it. Just because it has a little bit of everything when I'm talking about any of these subjects that are covered on the APMLE Part 2. You could find a little bit of everything in this book. And going through this book, really just reading through this book, it's going to help you a lot, especially for externships and for the boards. And a caveat about studying for boards is studying for externships is like studying for boards, and studying for boards is like also studying for interviews. You should kind of just put them all together as you're going through this experience, because it's hard to really dedicate a lot of time to boards part 2. You're kind of always trying to impress in your residency program, and you're always asked questions during that day, and it adds on. And so you should just look at it as a learning experience. I mentioned this in my previous series of videos when I was talking about externships in the beginning of the year. So sort of look at it that way. So Watkins being my first resource. Second resource, Prism. Basically I really liked Prism because whatever wasn't covered in Watkins, it was covered in Prism. And so adding those two together was really helpful in covering anything that was missed on one or the other. So you should really combine those two because it helps a lot when you're studying for boards part 2. The third one being McGlamory's anesthesia chapter. I don't think there's any other place where you would find better anesthesia content than McGlamory's anesthesia chapter. I would say it's probably the best resource to use for anesthesia. I'm just going to lay it out there. And if you talk to some residents, I feel like they would probably say the same thing. So I recommend using that because when I took the exam, I felt like for the anesthesia section alone, that chapter alone was sufficient for me to really feel comfortable with any question asked about anesthesia. The fourth resource is Board Vitals. I think Board Vitals is encompassing all the subjects. If you look at their website, they cover every subject that I just talked about, and they have specific questions for each of those subjects. And you should be incorporating, I feel, board vitals every day into your study routine, maybe doing 5 to 10 questions a day. And if you haven't started, probably ramping up those questions daily, because Board Vitals is definitely hard, but the explanations and the questions are very, very crucial for you to do well. And I wish I used Board Vitals more. I didn't use it as much. I actually didn't even finish it. I'm going to be honest with you. But that doesn't mean that that's the end of the world. I just think it's really good, especially if you're a type of person who learns from questions and reads the explanations, because Board Vitals does a great job in doing that, especially for all of these subjects that are going to be in the boards. The fifth one being the Prometric practice exams. You should use these. These are free exams that are on the Prometric website that basically replicate what the actual exam is like. Sure, it might be slightly easier than the actual exam, but I think if you use it in the way that it's a diagnostic tool, seeing where your weaknesses are and strengths are, I think you can really utilize that moving forward with a lot of the resources I've just already mentioned. And again, I don't have a complete study schedule about how or what I did. I'm going to make a study schedule video later down the line about my 2 week study schedule, because I was studying basically every day, a little by little, just through walk-ins or Prism, because those things you're using pretty much all the time when you're in externships, I feel like, or that's personally what I was doing. So I didn't really have like a strict study schedule. It really depended on how it felt that day and what I was studying and what I was learning that day, because everything to me was just situational at that time, when I was a fourth year. Two supplemental things that I would add, that are not crucial but I felt were crucial for my success was, first, my medicine notes. Again, I feel like medicine is kind of hard to study for. Medicine's very, very huge. It's vast. There's a lot to learn about medicine. When you say medicine, it's you can't really pinpoint one thing and one resource that will just be the best. So I felt like my medicine notes for my classes and the videos that my teacher made for us specifically for studying for the boards was really helpful, especially when I could watch it in 2 times speed. And I just learned quickly just through watching videos, to be honest with you. And the second thing is biomechanics notes. Biomechanics was probably the hardest subject on boards part 2, just because it's not as straightforward as you think. And I personally did not feel very strongly with my biomechanics. I don't really apply a lot of the biomechanics knowledge I've learned throughout the years of podiatry school, during externships, and even now it's more so I there's like specific procedures I think about for biomechanical issues that patients have, but the questions on boards part 2 are not as straightforward as you may think. So using my notes, I felt a little bit more confident going into the exam, but I still felt like I just didn't know as much as I should have. But I talked to some of my friends and they kind of felt the same way, so I didn't feel too bad. But overall, it wasn't a terrible exam. And if you just study a little bit every day and you're leading up to this and you're using some of the resources I mentioned and maybe your resources, I think those will be helpful, all in all. So yeah, I wish I could give you guys a study schedule, but again, I'm going to be making a separate video as the test date gets closer, with my 2 week breakdown of how I really just did like a rapid review of everything just to make sure I had like all my corners covered. So I'll make that study schedule video soon, when I have more time, because just now residency is really hard just to find any time to make anything. But yeah, I really enjoy making content for you guys, and I hope you guys really enjoyed today's video. If you have any questions or like any concerns about anything, please reach out to us. We have an email, thedpmjourney@gmail.com, or you can reach out to us on Instagram, the Podiatry Journey, because that's honestly where we basically look at the most, and we try to answer our messages from there with all of you guys asking us questions. And if there's any other resources that you feel like could help anybody watching this video today, just drop it down below, because that we're a big community, so we're trying to help one another. during these times. So if you guys could support our video, just hit a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. We'd really appreciate it. Anyways, Pod Squad signing out. Take care, guys.